The Butcher of Nine. I'm an archaeologist. A story has come into my possession, etched onto tablets of stone. I don't know how old it is or where it took place. I don't even know whether it is true. Only that I have reasons to think it might be. I tell this saga using English, my natural language.
Bring him closer, on ye. Ah, now I see you, Wyatt Sickert. Get off your knees. You are a free man, even here. I am, unfortunately, the mother of Edward, a wayward boy who is young beyond his years.
Queen Tori of Orc, I am at your service, your highness.
Alas, for now, my highness is at a lowness. The Sign dynasty has a question mark hanging over it. Rumours of Edward's sexual oddities have been too empirical. We have done our duty and disposed of the relevant subjects and witnesses, but still, Onyi will explain our dilemma.
As you wish, my queen. The problem is, as always, the people. Prince Henry is in the Northern Territories with our army, fighting off the hordes at our border. So we have but a guard of 150 at the palace. Nine has a population of 45,000, all with pikes, swords, and bows. Our citizens are dim enough to put up with much, but child molestation, no. They boil with indignation at the very thought of it. If it were proven, they would boil us and feed us to their pigs.
Oh, in one ye we can trust to never be short of graphic description.
My queen, how can I help with this problem?
Dear Sickert, your tapestry is renowned throughout the kingdom. We value you and Mary, your talented young seamstress. Perchance, have you entered her yet?
Not yet, your majesty. I love her, but she is still in her own bed. Permit me to ask again, how can I help?
First, I will ask Chancellor Akred to outline the financial terms.
I bow to Queen Tori's wish. Sickert and Mary are to have their wages doubled, so that their extra service to the palace is made worthwhile.
There! Everything is in place. Edward will live under the protective roof of Wyatt Sickert. The property will have a high wall of spiked iron bars around it. The errant prince will have his own room, and the garden for his amusement and pleasure. He says that he loves art. Perhaps he can be employed in the studio in some mundane usefulness. Goodbye, Sickert, and be warned. Do not let the little blighter get up to any further mischief.
I deem it an honour to serve my queen.
It's late in May. A month or so has passed. The simmering rumours have dissipated like smoke into the warm blue skies. Tori's Sign dynasty seems safe for now. The 19-year-old Edward seemed content. He has spent much time drawing with charcoal in his room. His sketches were of a sexual nature, but harmless enough. Sickert's house was centred in White Moss district, the bohemian area of Nine, where anything goes. Sickert encouraged the prince, and Mary was intrigued by some of the phallic images. A tree swing was in the lavish garden. Mary liked to spend time there, sipping wine during her breaks. Often she would sit and go back and forth on the swing, her frock lifted, her pale and shapely legs dangled flirtatiously. Edward liked to watch her.
The girl on a swing.
I'm a lady.
And I am a prince.
A problematic prince.
I am misunderstood. I am not a savage like my warrior brother Henry. I am intellectual. I ponder the unknown. I play with words. Edward, both poet and artist, for this I am made solitary, a prisoner in Sicket's house.
Yet, being here is so much nicer than actual prison. It's true that you have a most delicate and refined quality. I dare to think I might even like you.
You do? Then I shall dance for Mary. The birds will sing and the dragonflies will flag their gossamer and hum. Nature will provide the music.
On song, the birds and dragonflies made music and the elfin prince danced with operatic flair. And this was the beginning of an unwise and even deadly affair that took place in the Garden of Unearthly Delight. Sicket, being an obsessive worker, noticed not the planting in the potting shed or behind the rose bushes. The winter solstice came and went before it was revealed. Wyatt, please stop a moment. I have something to tell you.
You have? Well, I have something to tell you. You are drinking too much. The neatness of your thread is wavering, and you are spending too many evenings in the swans.
I am with child.
How far gone?
It's starting to show.
Dear Mary, who is the lucky man?
Would that it were you.
Why did you... Oh, no! Don't tell me that it is Edward.
It is.
This is dreadful. Your babe will be a bastard.
It will not. The prince has married me.
How? He has never left the house.
6 months ago, in foolish love, I met a wandering holy man in the tavern. We hired him to marry us. He came to our garden gate and carried out the deed through the iron railings. Annie, who works at the tavern, was the witness. It took but a passing shadow of time.
This news is even worse. It is sacrilegious. It violates Dom's law. A scandal that could wreck the kingdom.
I realise that now, but it is just possible that this misadventure could go away. Both Annie and the holy man named Joham have sworn not to speak of this. As for Edward, he has cooled towards me and gone back to his previous preferences.
Where is he now?
In his room, where he has been all winter. Even meals are sent to his room.
Bring him to me now.
I cannot. The prince will not suffer me to influence him.
Then we will go to him. Edward, open.
I am open. However, you two are closed to me. I order your dismissal. I am second in line to the throne.
You forget that I am entrusted to keep you in order by the throne itself. Make way. All these drawings, they are impressive, although the subject matter is disturbing.
Or for you, perhaps. For myself, I draw on a higher plane. I have no boundaries, unrestricted in art as in life. For instance, I am not subject to manhood alone, for I am androgynous. These images I call my boy period.
So I see. And when you took my seamstress in my garden and seeded her, what period was that?
My past period. And now it's past.
Not so. The consequences of past can also be future. Mary carries your child.
Princes are notorious for their profligate bastards.
True, but you married Mary. She took your name.
Did she? That's theft. Give it back to me, seamstress. You use the devil's breath to seduce my royal blood and sew it into your own.
I didn't. You courted me and then rejected me without reason.
Usurp broke Dom's law. You are a traitor to your own dynasty. As for your art, it defiles nature.
God made nature, and then his skills improved, made me. Nature is my distant forefather. God is my immediate father.
Vanity beyond words. We will all pay for this criminal marriage, all, with our heads separated. Only one thing can save us, and that is that the marriage remains secret. All else could be remedied if Mary will have me.
Surely I will.
I will love the child as my own. Can we all agree that no marriage took place?
It was a bad dream. It was an hallucination fueled by witch's brew.
It was a play performed by drunken actors in a summer haze.
It is settled then. Edward, we will leave you to go back to your study of anatomy.
Go! Leave me to whistle within the limitations of my comfortable prison.
Sickett and Mary returned to their work. The Sickett household was run as routinely as the passing of sun and moon. The cook, Mrs. Looming, served dinner at 5 p.m. precisely. Edward would serve his meal in his room. After dinner, Sickett stared at Mary with mixed feelings. He was in dread at the immensity of the secret they shared. Yet, he was excited at the possible winning of Mary's beautiful hand.
I will endeavour to look after you and yours, Mary. Be sure of that.
Of that I am certain. My foolishness is over. I cannot imagine a better man to give myself to.
One thing troubles me. The wandering holy man. Where is he? Will he keep his promise of silence?
Johann has long left Nain. To travel the Northern Territory, it is said. I'm not certain as to his character. I'm proven to be a poor judge. I did see him drink overmuch and consort with professional ladies in the Swan's Neck.
We can do little. Only hope for a good result.
Can anything be done about my own status?
Yes, after the birth. If the water has passed under the bridge without being dammed, we will marry. It will seem a most natural thing. Even the Queen will approve.
Can the prince be trusted? He's unbalanced.
He is strange, but not mad. To tell of his marriage to a seamstress would be suicide. Nevertheless, Mary, you are not completely safe here. Tomorrow I will take you by carriage to my aunt in Cane Walk. You'll find safety there in the Western Province. My aunt is a midwife, and she will look after you.
Thank you, Wyatt, my one and only true friend. 60 more days have gone by. Sickett has been working alone. The prince is still solitary in his room. Ostensibly, Mary has been taking a much-needed rest. She has been bathing in the healing waters of Wellshore near Canewalk. All seemed quiet, and then... Wait here. Sir, 3 ladies from the Swan's Neck.
Show them in.
Annie Lane, Mr. Sickert, and my associates Cynthia and Sophia. My, what fabulous designs! We are honoured to be in the company of such an artist. The absent Mary, known to us all, is the subject of our business.
Visit her then, for I have no business with you.
Oh, it may not be to your liking, but you have. We own valuable information, and it would profit you to purchase it.
Mrs. Looming, please go back to the kitchen. What are you selling apart from your souls?
The marriage of Mary, the pregnancy, and the princely identity of the husband.
Mary is taking rest in Canewalk. She's been overworked. Prince Edward is a student here. I am his guardian by Queen's order. There is no marriage or pregnancy. Your information is false and useless.
Did you not know, or perhaps you've forgotten, I, Annie, was present as a witness to the ceremony?
You were witness to a poet's comedy. And what holy man cavorts with jugs and wine and women without morality?
Oh, Joam is less than perfect like most priests, but sober. He's well respected and has given Tori herself consultations. He was anointed holy by the head priests of Orc.
Why have you come here as 3?
Well, there's safety in numbers. We've noted the sudden absence of certain witnesses from 9. To assassinate 3 is 3 times more troublesome. Also, we have more insurance, a 4th party, who is known to be influential of crowds. Perhaps a crowd with weapons enough to take the palace.
What man would dare?
Says a man.
Shh, stupid.
What foolish reward do you seek?
A mere 20 ounces of gold, and our lips are sown. It's but nothing to the treasury, yet everything for us. We can retire from our indecent work.
Loathsome women. I will pass on your false claims to those concerned. Take your life in your hands, vile sisters, and be gone.
Sickert, an astute man, knew that the scandal was up and running, and that he had to get ahead of it to control the worst of the consequences. That very evening, he asked for an audience at the palace. The following morning, he was greeted by the Queen and Onyi, her adviser.
Thank you, Queen Tori, for seeing me so promptly.
Yes, get on with it. Why do you mither me?
For no good reason, but a bad one.
I'm bored already. Dear Sickert, be direct.
I am sorry, my queen, but directness misses my purpose. I am betrothed to Mary, my seamstress.
Not before time. And the purpose of this preamble?
My purpose is to first protect my future wife before I reveal my bad news. She has, in stupid youthfulness and in her rapture for artistic license, made a most terrible mistake. I have forgiven her, and I ask that you trust in my judgment and promise not to imprison or execute her.
A very strange request. To forgive without knowing the crime, and presumably in order to be told the crime? Ingenious, Sickert. Very well. This clever conundrum deserves reward. Mary will not be imprisoned or executed. Now get on with it.
Thank you, Your Highness. Last summer, in my walled garden, influenced by wine and the music of birds and the humming of dragons,
The point!
Edward danced for Mary and 2 young heads were lost. They became lovers.
Oh, good for him. At last, a proper go at it. Oh, sorry, Sickert. Indelicate of me.
The problem is that they hired Johann, the holy man, and were married.
No! No! This is not allowed! Sickert, you betrayed my trust. You let this violation of the law threaten the kingdom.
I knew nothing of these garden sins. I was busy in my studio. Mary made the contract in the tavern. Johann came to the garden and married them through the railings.
A wicked girl! She will pay for this.
My queen, you made a promise.
I did. I forgot. But wait. Why tell me now of this illegal marriage? Has it become public?
The holy man and Annie Long, the witness, promised to keep the affair secret. Now that you have assured Mary's future, I can tell you that the secret is under threat. The witness, Annie, and her co-conspirators, Cynthia and Sophia, visited me yesterday. They demanded 20 ounces of gold as a payment for their silence.
Ugh! Kill all 3 of them.
They have a 4th collaborator, who they claim is their insurance. They say a rabble-rouser who has the ears of the crowds.
Kill him as well.
But why him? It is almost surely Madame Germaine who runs the Swan's Neck.
I have heard enough. This matter needs to be dealt with by the Royal Lodge. Know only that Edward will be taken from your house this afternoon and banished to where he can do no harm. Onyi, have you any words from the wise?
I have noted everything. The lodge panel will be well informed.
Then note this. Queen Tori is not here. The Queen knows nothing of this trouble.
It is noted.
The panel spent several days discussing the situation. We are at the initial formal meeting. Those present are Onyi, Dr. Medlin, Sheriff Solemn, Chancellor Acrid, and the lesser but useful Queen's carriage driver named Nudge.
Who speaks first?
Fine work for us. All those involved should be murdered horribly.
I agree in principle, but exceptions are necessary. The seamstress must be spared from captivity and death.
What a shame! Such a comely wench. I would have ride her and then gutted her with equal pleasure.
Please, no more crude interruptions from you, Nudge. Know your place, somewhere beneath contempt. Sickert is loyal, and the Queen favours him. Perhaps after the main meal, we may reconsider.
That leaves the 3 whores, Germaine and the unholy Oam.
I have preempted the obvious and sent out Investigator Kane with a party of my men. The holy man has been captured in the Northern Territory and is on his way to Nine, bound and gagged.
Excellent. And now it occurs to me, a plan, how we can kill 5 rabbits with 1 arrow.
I'd prefer to kill one person with 5 arrows 5 times.
Shut up, Nudge. If Nudge were to play himself, only even more grotesque.
Impossible.
To continue, with a fearful name such as the Butcher of Nine. If he were to drive into the midst of the market, and Walioham, hooded, naked, and bound, out of an unmarked carriage, slay him, and pull out his heart, even pretend to eat it raw.
I pretend? I don't do pretend.
Quiet, Nudge. And then sheath his butcher's knife into his butcher's apron, gee up his horses, and flee. What effect would that have on the citizens of Nine, Sheriff?
Your opening gambit would produce an immense fear amongst the crowd. I would order a curfew and send my city criers out to increase that fear.
Splendid. A curfew would make it so much easier to deal with the other cows to be slaughtered.
Sorry to speak, but I have a worry. I would be recognised as Nudge, the palace carriage driver. I'm well known.
Fine details, Nudge. I am trying to convey the general plan. Still, since you ask, obviously you will be wearing a grotesque mask. Now go, unruly Nudge. Well, go on then. The sight of you is disturbing me, and the sound of you is infuriating my thoughts.
Well, no, go off to now.
Where was I? Of course, Germain will be the next to go, and thus the insurance for the other 3. The tavern will be busy with drunken oafs half of the night, even during a curfew. We should wait until about 5 in the morning, break into her bedroom, and take her life as she sleeps.
How will the other 3 be killed?
They will not be too alarmed by the death of Germain. The whole city will be certain that Germain's slaughter, her heart being pulled out, is the work of the Butcher of Nine. The 3 whores will be dealt with the same way. Our Butcher of Nine always kills the same way. It is his trademark. The good doctor, the Queen's surgeon, will do the cutting, less messy, using his more precise implements. We cannot let Nudge have all the fun.
At last I am given a part to play. Bring out the wenches to me. I will work under lamplight in a blacked-out carriage. Nudge can go back to shouting at his horses.
A splendid idea. Using the carriage, the mutilated corpses can be shoved out onto the passageways, dotted around Whitemoss. It will reinforce our curfew. Many of the crowd will say that it served them badly to break with it. The 3 wenches should be done in the same night, to avoid them being alerted to their fate. There it is, then, the sketched-out plan. Does it meet the panel's approval?
It has my support. It will not cost an ounce of silver. My only question is, what about Sickett and the seamstress?
We will worry about them later.
I think it's a psychological wonder. The main ingredient being fear. Fear is the enemy of thought. An unthinking populace is most easily controlled. Even after the slaughter is over, the people will, for many moons, fear the Butcher of Nine, that he is still out there somewhere.
My only reservation is that the mythical butcher will not be arrested, thus making my men seem incompetent.
Worry more about the competence of your men. I speak of Kane, the excellent chief investigator. Keep him on a tight leash. When the butcher ceases his activity, you can claim that your efforts have forced him to take flight from 9.
Tori is well served by her Queen's advisor.
We strike as soon as we have deliberated over every detail. We resume at noon tomorrow. Until then, meeting closed.
While these deliberations were in progress, Sickett travelled westwards through the fields and highways. He rode his best horse, pulling a trailer packed with provisions, enough to begin a fresh start in a foreign land. On the way, he reconnected with his beloved Mary in Canewalk.
Dear Wyatt, at last I set my eyes upon you. Mary longs to see you. I must warn you, she gave birth 3 days ago. It was difficult, and she is still a little groggy. The good news is that the baby girl is healthy and cries loud. A good sign.
Thank you for all your help and matter. Please allow me to see them.
Sickett came into their room and bedside. He held Mary's hand. She was pale, but awake and able to speak. Then he lifted the babe up into his arms.
Dearest Mary, so far we have avoided the worst of it. However, we are far from safe. The palace has paid informants in every town within Orc. Have you told my aunt anything?
No. She thinks you to be the father.
I told the Queen half of the truth and received a promise for you to be forgiven. Yet I do not trust that her word is bonded.
What is needed for us to escape this cruel kingdom?
We must leave Orc without delay. I have with me savings and samples of our work, enough to find employment in the court of Servia. Its kinship is less than 100 miles further to the west, but Mary, for now, you are too weak for the journey. I will go tomorrow and prepare a new life for us.
Take our baby with you. If they find her here, they will surely harm her.
I will. She is precious to me.
Have you a name for her?
I have. Marilyn.
Then Marlin it is. Sickett made his escape to Servia with Mary's baby. He employed a nursemaid at the first town he came to. In Servia, he found employment at the king's court and bought a comfortable home. Sickett then set off to Canewalk to rescue his beloved from the dangers of Orc. Meanwhile, Onyi's plan had been executed to perfection. 9 was in a state of blind panic over the mutilated bodies of the butcher's victims. The sheriff was very pleased with the part he had played. He had provided the addresses of the 3 over-ambitious professional women. They all had rooms on their own in the White Moss area. Also, he had the honour of helping Medellin in the carriage itself, lighting up the work with the oil lamp and passing the surgeon his tools. But he was not pleased with Kane's forensic investigation.
Did I say that you could enter?
I have information. You are the sheriff. Do you want information?
Only if it's credible.
It is evidence, and evidence is always credible.
Oh, very well then. Come right in and spew it out.
After the killing of Joam, why was his identity kept from the public? A number of trustworthy traders told me that, most likely, the murderer was none other than Nudge.
Preposterous! The Butcher of Nine was wearing a hideous mask. Who are these witnesses?
They only spoke to me under the protection of being nameless. I gave my word, which I am a man of. As for the palace carriage driver, he has a most peculiar body shape, a bit like a bear. And when he urges his horse's actions, he has a most distinctive growl.
So, no actual witnesses.
There is more. The next victim was the Madame Germain. The blood spilled would fill buckets, the same as with Joam. Not so with the 3 women that followed. They were dumped on paths. They were already dead.
Might not your buckets have sunk into the well? A porous ground, perhaps?
My suspicion is that the 3 were murdered in a shelter of some kind, and then rolled out onto the paving. I suspect a carriage was used. There were fine trails of blood on the ground. That confirms this theory. Joam was rolled out alive. The 3 wenches were rolled out dead. Again, we have a connection with Nudge.
I regard this as a disrespectful slight upon the employees of the palace.
Of course, you take this slight personally, Sheriff, for you and Nudge are well known to each other. You are often seen going to meetings at the Royal Lodge. Strange, Nudge being such a coarse ruffian.
Well, we have a policy to give voice to the common people.
Oh, do you indeed? There is more. The last 3 were not taken by the by. They were close friends. Their reputation was for connivance and greed. In short, all 5 victims were connected. All of them are linked to the Swan's neck.
Your neck, Cain, to me, is what's too connected to your body and to your head.
Oh, and one last thing. The holy man was roughly cut, a messy job, whereas the other 4 were neatly cleaved by someone experienced with sharp instruments.
Oh, so you suspect a doctor, perhaps the Queen's surgeon.
Or even a real butcher.
Your investigation is as vile as the case itself. You no longer have work here. Be gone before I have you thrown out.
We left Wyatt Sickett on his way to rescuing Mary from Orc. Sickett would never see his betrothed again. The day before he returned to Canewalk, Mary was bundled into a carriage by Medlin and the ubiquitous Nudge. She had been taken back to Nine. Dr. Medlin declared her to be insane and operated a crude lobotomy. Mary was neither incarcerated nor executed, but made unable to put words together. She lived on for a decade or so in the sadness of helpless squalor. A kind of divine justice dawned upon the guilty parties in this morbid tale, unless it was merely the closing of mouths. Nudge was, strangely, trampled to death by horses in the palace courtyard. Medlin, ironically, died of a heart attack. Solemn committed an uncharacteristic suicide. Only Anye survived. He was already old, yet lived on well into his 90s. His mind was still as sharp and cunning as ever. Queen Tori doted on him, and he became the virtual governor of Orc. Sickett prospered in Servia. His heraldic work was much applauded by the king himself. His charge, Marlin, became an accomplished seamstress. When Marlin reached the age required, Sickett married her, and she gave birth to a boy that they named Wilfred. The boy grew up listening to his father's tales about the fabrication of the Butcher of Nine. In manhood, Wilfred became a stonemason, and it was Wilfred Sickett that etched this story upon tablets of stone. The Butcher of Nine, a radio play by Dave Patchett. The teller, Mary, Mrs. Looming, Cynthia, and credits by Irene Cunningham. Queen Tory, Annie, and Mata by Janina Kapinska. Sickett and Nudge by John Lawrenson. Onyi and Acrid by Matthew Shelton Jones. Prince Edward, Medellin, and Cain by Matt Reynolds. Solemn by Dave Patchett. Recording, editing and sound effects by ALT Sound Recordings.